For New York entertainers Elliot and Debra Novak, rehearsals are routine. Yet nothing could have prepared them for that long night 13 years ago when they say they were abducted by a UFO. They are just now coming to terms with the full range of their experiences.
I remembered thinking to myself, God, if they want to take us, let's go with them.
I have a fond memory of it is because it felt like a letdown when it was over. Not like I was relieved when it was over. I felt like I wanted it to go on longer, and here I was back, in New York.
Television producer, writer, and entertainer Elliot Novak and his then-fiancée, performer Debra Studer, finished their show at Grossinger's Resort Hotel in the Catskill Mountains at 11 o'clock on August 23, 1984. Within minutes, they had packed their bags and props and were on their way back to New York City via Route 17 South, a trip that would ordinarily take them about 2 hours. Tonight, however, things didn't work as usual. Elliot looked up and saw a set of mysterious blinking lights. He pointed them out to Debra, and she pulled over. The lights stopped blinking and began to move toward them. Only then did they see 3 separate lights located on the corners of a giant triangle, a dark metallic object. This illustration is Elliot's interpretation of what they saw.
It was so large that you couldn't see any sky if you looked left or right or back. It filled your entire line of vision and peripheral vision.
It was like the size of a football field. That's the best way I could describe it.
The object moved over the car without making a sound and suddenly stopped, bathing them with an intense bluish-white light.
I remember at one point seeing a flash of light and then nothing.
I do remember the feeling of butterflies in my stomach and as if you were in a small plane that was going up and down and changing altitude.
The next thing they remember, the object was gone. The passenger door was open and Elliot's legs were hanging out. But there was something even more puzzling.
I raised myself up and closed my pants up. I had no idea what was going on, why my pants were down, what I was doing with my legs out of the car, why Debbie didn't say to me, "What are you doing with your legs out of the car with your pants down?" Nothing. We said nothing to each other. We just drove on.
They arrived back in New York City about an hour and a half later than usual. In the morning, Elliot woke up feeling a strange soreness in his groin.
The aftermath the next morning of being sore down there and having bruising on my thighs and on my legs and on my groin, and I urinated blood that morning for the only time in my life, the only time this ever happened to me.
Oddly enough, an article in the New York Times the next day provided details of similar UFO sightings reported over a period of months by thousands of residents in the Hudson Valley. Accounts of a gigantic triangle with lights in the summer skies. Science educator and author Philip Imbrogno says he was one of those who saw the 3-cornered spacecraft. He has gathered more than 7,000 reports of related sightings in the area. Among these were more than 175 reports of abductions.
Number of cases that offer good data. We're talking about people who are looking for publicity, people who have passed psychological testing and so on. The number in the Hudson Valley is still staggering, well over 175.
I didn't know anything about abduction. I didn't know anything about spaceships, so it wasn't until after it was over did I really begin to think that I was taken aboard an alien spacecraft.
In 1984, the Novaks were certain of the UFO sighting near Grossinger's in the Catskills. But it wasn't until February 1997, 13 years later, that they would consider the possibility they might have been among those abducted in the Hudson Valley. It all started when a friend gave Debra a copy of Missing Time, written by UFO researcher Bud Hopkins.
I opened it up and I couldn't put it down. I stayed up all night and read it. And I saw many similarities to things that had happened in my life. Not only the Grossinger experience, but other experiences in my life as well.
Hopkins, who has investigated more than 600 abduction reports since 1975, agreed to help them, suggesting hypnosis as a way of recovering experiences they may have repressed.
When you work with somebody who's having these experiences or has had them over a number of years, you're aware that there's a core series of experiences, many of which they might not be consciously aware of.
Bud Hopkins, while not a therapist, consults with psychologists and psychiatrists and has lectured to hundreds of mental health professionals who want to find out how to look into abduction experiences. Hopkins served a 7-year apprenticeship as a hypnotist before working on his own with people who believe they might have been abducted. In February of 1997, Elliot Novak underwent hypnosis in Bud Hopkins' office. The videotape from that session shows Elliot as he remembers finding himself in a cold room on a metal table with shadowy figures nearby.
Is there any part of your body where you feel that tingling more intensely than any other part, or is it all over?
It's just in my groin, like I fell asleep.
I could see my legs up because I could see the tops of my knees, but I had no feeling there whatsoever. But the fellow on the right was doing something down there because I could see him. I could see his head right here. I just can't imagine that they would and perform these. I mean, how often do you have to do that?
During her own hypnosis, Debra reported that when the UFO passed over the car, she turned to Elliot, but he was gone. She had apparently been left behind. After their hypnosis sessions, Debra and Elliot compared their newfound recollections.
You didn't see me next to you. Where did you see me anywhere?
No.
Outside?
No. My next recollection was that I pulled back onto the road, and he was there again.
Debra not only recalled the 1984 UFO sighting, she also remembered a night in 1982 when she recalled lying in bed terrified while a strange light filled the room. This time it was she and not Elliot who was taken. She recounted chilling details of what she says occurred aboard the alien craft.
What's your abdomen? Do you feel something different there? What do you feel at the abdomen? It's different. Describe it to me. Happened a long time ago. It's going to be okay. Put my hand back on your forehead. My hand's coming back, calming down, feeling better. They've got what? Just tell me very clearly.
Needle.
A needle? Uh-huh. Where's the needle? Feel my hand on your forehead. Soothing. Calming.
It's in me. It's in. Oh, God.
Critics say that the alien abduction experience is invented when a person is under hypnosis, and that hypnotists plant the abduction stories when a person is in a vulnerable state of mind. Even members of the UFO research community acknowledge that such manipulation is possible. Psychologist Stuart Appel says that hypnosis can also create false memories.
These false memories can be believed with complete conviction on the part of the individual who is hypnotized. To that extent, hypnosis must be used with great caution and with great skill so that one avoids creating false memories, especially memories of the kind that can have a major impact on one's sense of identity, one's sense of purpose, one's worldview.
David Jacobs, an abduction researcher, agrees. He has conducted hundreds of hours of hypnotic regressions and thinks that abduction investigators should develop standard scientific procedures.
Anybody can do hypnosis on anybody else as long as that person wants to be hypnotized. The problem is that people can fabulate. They say things that are not true. Memory is faulty even under the best of circumstances.
Bud Hopkins argues that the memories of abductees are deliberately wiped out or suppressed by the aliens during an abduction experience, and that hypnosis has been extremely effective when conducted carefully.
This isn't something like a self-repression of memory that might go on with somebody who said something terribly traumatic and doesn't remember it, which we do know happens. This is a thing which seems to have been imposed from the outside.
Hopkins says he uses hypnosis to counteract a similar state induced by the aliens. He recovers memories he believes the aliens have suppressed. Journalist C.D.B. Bryan, who has written a book about abductions, does not believe that abductions are real, but he has watched Hopkins hypnotize 2 other abductees and defends him.
I watched him try to lead them, to demonstrate to me, for example, that you cannot make them say something that they don't want to say. And I think the great criticism against hypnosis is that they are trying to please the hypnotizer, or they're simply making things up. I didn't see this happen.
As UFO skeptics and researchers debate possible explanations for the abduction phenomena, Elliot offers his own.
Eventually, everyone is going to be made aware of this. It's happening with too much regularity. It's happening to people who never believed that anything like that could happen to them. It's beyond the realm of the lunatic fringe reporting these things only. And you know, you can't prove it to people who don't believe. You just have to wait, and that's human nature. You know, until it jumps up and bites you on the nose, you're not going to believe it.